Property is a myth. Ownership is a temporary permission granted by the state, and that permission can be revoked at any moment, for any reason, with the stroke of a pen. You believe your house is yours because you have a deed. You believe your money is yours because it's in your account. You are wrong. You are merely a custodian of assets that the system allows you to hold until it needs them back. On April 5th, 1933, the United States of America, the supposed bastion of liberty, proved this reality in a way that should chill you to your core. President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102. It wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't a tax. It was a command. Under the threat of 10 years in a federal cage and a fine that would strip your family of every cent they possessed, every man, woman, and child was ordered to surrender their gold. This wasn't just metal. It was the only thing standing between the citizen and the total control of the banking elite. The gold was the people's shield against inflation. It was their sovereignty. And in 1933, the state decided that sovereignty was a crime. Today, on Financial Historica, we pull back the curtain on the most successful legal heist in human history. We will show you how they did it, why they did it, and why the 2026 Digital Reset is using the exact same playbook to ensure you never truly own anything ever again. To understand the robbery, you must understand the setup. The year was 1933. The Great Depression had the world in a chokehold. But look closer. The Federal Reserve, created just 20 years earlier in the shadows of Jekyll Island, had already begun its work of devaluing the dollar. People were terrified. They were doing the one thing the banking cartel hates most. They were withdrawing their money from the banks and converting it into physical gold. They were taking their wealth out of the system. When you hold gold, you are your own central bank. You cannot be tracked. You cannot be inflated away. You cannot be reset. The banks were bleeding. The elite were losing their grip. They needed a way to force that gold back into the vaults of the Federal Reserve. Roosevelt didn't just wake up and decide to take the gold. He was the salesman for a banking coup. First came the bank holiday. They closed the doors of every bank in America, trapping the people's cash inside. Then, while the public was panicked and desperate, they dropped the hammer. Executive Order 6102. The wording was precise. It prohibited the hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates. Notice the word hoarding. The state redefined saving for your future as a criminal act of hoarding against the public interest. It is the ultimate psychological trick, making the victim feel like the villain. The enforcement was brutal. The government gave the people 25 days, less than a month to hand over the labor of their lives. Safe deposit boxes were the first targets. The government didn't need to break into your house if they already controlled the building where you kept your wealth. Banks were ordered to report anyone who accessed their boxes. In many cases, federal agents were present when boxes were opened. Propaganda flooded the airwaves. Posters appeared in every post office, painting gold owners as unpatriotic slackers who were hurting the recovery. It was a masterclass in social engineering. They turned neighbor against neighbor. But here is the most disgusting part of the 1933 heist: the price manipulation. The government paid the people $20.67 per ounce for their stolen gold. They paid in paper, Federal Reserve notes that had no intrinsic value. Once the vast majority of the gold was safely tucked away in the vaults of the elite, Roosevelt did the unthinkable. In January 1934, he passed the Gold Reserve Act, instantly raising the price of gold to $35 an ounce. In one single night, the government increased the value of the gold they had just bought by nearly 70%. They didn't just take the gold, they robbed the people of 70% of their purchasing power in a single heartbeat. It was the largest wealth transfer in American history, executed in broad daylight. History doesn't repeat, but it certainly rhymes. Why does 1933 matter to you in 2026? Because we are witnessing the birth of the Digital Executive Order 6102. The transition to central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, is the modern version of the 1933 gold seizure. Back then, they needed to physically take your gold to control you. Today, they just need to move you into a system where every cent you own is a line of code they control. Imagine an emergency economic act in 2026. A crisis, engineered or real, is used to justify the mandatory conversion of your private bank deposits, your Bitcoin, or your physical assets into a unified digital dollar. If you refuse, your wallet is deactivated. You are excluded from the economy. You are, once again, a hoarder or a financial terrorist. The 1933 gold heist was the beta test for the 2026 reset. They learned that the public will hand over their freedom if they are scared enough. They learned that the law is whatever the man with the pen says it is. And most importantly, they learned that private property is only yours as long as you can keep it out of their reach. The survivors of 1933 were those who didn't trust the system, the ones who buried their wealth where no ledger could find it, the ones who understood that the state is not your protector. It is a competitor for your resources. We are entering the final phase of the Great Reset. The 2026 deadline is approaching. Will you be the one handing over your digital keys, or will you be the one who saw it coming? Look at your assets. If a single signature can take them away, you don't own them. You are just renting them from the elites. Leave a comment below. Do you believe the 2026 reset will involve a mandatory wealth tax or a total asset seizure like in 1933? The debate is happening now. Subscribe to Financial Historica. We are the only ones tracking the blueprint. Stay sovereign. Stay vigilant.